Yeah, they say you're not really live until you've been live for a minute, like 30 seconds or something like that. Daddy, Daddy called me Buckshot because I was all over the place, and I have always been a bit of a cut up and a clown, and I was always in trouble, obviously, for running my mouth, and always called a hyper kid. Oh, when I grew up, I had to have carob and brown sugar, and oh my God, if I had a red M&M, I might go crazy. It had nothing to do with any of that. They didn't know. Back then, nobody told you you were autistic. Nobody told you you had ADD or ADHD or told you anything. You just buckled down and you worked harder, and you still got a 3.75 out of high school. And I believe I got tassels for my college too. It was 3.85. You just have to work a little bit harder. Nobody ever told me, that dyslexia wasn't something I could overcome. It still gives me problems, and I still scramble stuff all the time. It happens. The most costly stuff was during my career scrambling part numbers and ordering the wrong thing. And that wasn't just the cost of the part, it was the downtime involved. But just scrambling two letters or two numbers could be horrific. But yeah, this is supposed to be about fun. I wanted to talk about that day on the river, basically, and the eagle that watched me set up camp. And, then everybody that consequently went by there and pointed up at the eagle while their children and everything else was down below them. And as he looked down at it, and it was just great. It was a great scenic opportunity for everybody. But having camp there at dusk, when I saw him come off that perch and attack a crane that was visibly actually larger than the adolescent eagle, it had occurred to me that at any point during that day, that eagle could have came off that perch and attacked any one of those children in those tubes or whatever. It's like, wow. I thought about it a minute, but and everybody's like, "Oh, look, Freya, look," and I will further elaborate. I saw many groups of people where parents are in the canoe with the cooler, and oh Lord knows, like I said, there's quite a bit of weight there, and they're dragging their toddler in a tube behind them. I helped one almost got jammed up, like with the tube between their boat and the shore. I mean, and it wasn't just, and then even worse, like it was Mother's Day weekend, and I saw like, which obviously was a single mother with two kids, actually, well, three kids in tow, but I mean, two in tow behind in tubes, one in the canoe. Besides, the string of 10 Hispanic people that I pray to God made it safely to, yeah, Hasty. I hope they hastily got to Hasty, but it was just crazy. There were so many stories along the way, and yeah, it's hard to remember them all. But there was a noticeable difference from last year, because last year all the things that were going on, none of it really mattered out on the river, and I commented that. I made a point of highlighting that. This time it was different. We're isolating much more than we ever have, probably in the history of mankind, and we forget that although we're getting a bit tribal at the same time, it's tribalism. If you're one of those Darwinists and believe in saber-toothed tigers, they apparently fed on us, and it was, working together that we didn't get hunted extinct from them. But nonetheless, however you want to look at it, these days I just try to tell them, the Gaia worshippers, that yes, if you don't procreate, you're even failing Mother Gaia if you don't believe in your Father in heaven. And I'll elaborate once more that, man, you're God's glory, you're made in His image. So if you don't have any love for your mortal father, how can you have any love for your heavenly Father? And as far as women, well, you're man's glory, I guess, because you're made from our rib. They leave out whose image you're made in, most beautiful of all angels. But if you don't obey thy husband, and granted, yes, he has to love you like the church, but if you don't obey him, like Christ, what good of a bride? Because you're not married to anybody in heaven. Remember that? You're married to Christ in heaven. So let's all focus on humbling ourselves, maybe shaving our head metaphorically, rubbing some ash on our skin, and grabbing some burlap instead of worrying about being so fashionable in a world that is passing away literally before you. So, whether you want to acknowledge the season that we're in or not is of no consequence to me. It's just to express that the door is currently open, but it won't always be. And someday, the book of names will be closed, and that hand of protection will be removed. And although the Euphrates isn't running quite dry, it's at a record low, and you know what the old, and there's things to back this up too. Those fallen angels that conspired with Satan to overthrow the Almighty Alpha and Omega, creator of heaven and earth, whose seat is righteousness and justice. And they'll be loosened upon this earth. In some ways, I've thought that that has already occurred. Nonetheless, I'm not going to make this long. Tomorrow's never promised, though. Put your arms around those that make life worth living. Tell them you love them. Be thankful for everything. Pray over every breath. Pray over everything that goes in not only your mouth and your nostrils, but frankly, your eyes and ears. And, Matthew 6:34 thing, right? Fret not about tomorrow. It's got enough worry of its own. And indeed, cowardice is listed first in Revelation of the things to keep you out of heaven. So do not be fearful. You're told 365 times to fear not. And man's hearts are fixing to fail him. I got the feeling.